Hello and welcome back to another Andy's FPL Apprentice video. My name's Andy and today we're looking at our team selection for Game Week 5. You'll notice we didn't manage a video last week, I was working away, so I'll take you through how our Game Week 3 and Game Week 4 went, and then we'll have a look at our team selection for Game Week 5, transfer plans, captaincy decision and all of that good stuff. If you enjoyed the video then please do give it a like. We'd love it if you subscribe to the channel. Really nice to see the views growing. Love to get a few more subscribers in there. It doesn't cost you anything and you can unsubscribe later if you're not enjoying the videos. So Game Week 3 for Will, and he scored a superb 68 points, 20 points plus above the average score. Some great scores in there. Zaha was a real killer for him. 12 points from him. Tony carrying on his run with 8 points. 8 points from Sanchez in goal. And Pascal Gross, who I wasn't convinced about as a decision, popping up with 6. Captaincy to Salah with a nice 8 points. So yeah, really strong game week for Will. Green arrow, and I think he used his transfers well. And he followed it up in Game Week 4 with another 68 points and another green arrow. Just having one Liverpool defender has helped him this season, I think, as opposed to having two, but obviously Robertson with his 9 points was really good. Sanchez, another 8 points, just superb from him. Pascal Gross again, 11 from him. The only thing that Will arguably got wrong is his captaincy decision. He went for a risky punt and went for Tony. It's the first time that Tony's not delivered really so far this season, so certainly unlucky there. Although Haaland, in hindsight, was the obvious pick, a lot of people went for Salah and he only scored 1 more point than Tony, so I don't think Will can be too disappointed. I don't think he's lost out too much there. The Zaha injury meant that Norgard came into the team. Just a 2 point from him. Would have been nice if Anderson was his first sub, but just being a bit greedy there, because another good week for Will. Then if you go on to my team, you'll notice it isn't looking quite as good. You'll notice the name of this channel is Andy's FPL Apprentice, and obviously we should consider changing it to Will's Apprentice, because he's absolutely smashing me at the moment. So just 45 points for me in Game Week 3. Terrible defence. Obviously the Liverpool result against United, I was really banking on that one. It was nice to see Salah score. It really made a difference, because it would have been a struggle otherwise. 6 points from Zinchenko. Arsenal's defence is looking good. Nico Williams conceding in the 89th minute was a bit of a kicker to ruin the clean sheet. Haaland chipping in, Jesus chipping in with an assist, Martinelli scoring again. Biggest disappointment for me, aside from the premium defenders, was the amount of points I'd sat on the bench. Andreas and Bailey with a goal and an assist between them, so it would be nice to have that in the starting 11. And then Game Week 4, marginal improvement for me, but if I'm honest, not the biggest improvement. I scored 61 points. Would have been 65, but I actually took a hit and made 3 transfers. I'm not overly disappointed with how my team looks at the moment, but I felt like there was a few obvious issues with it. The Liverpool defence had looked poor. Now, in retrospect, obviously they got a clean sheet and conceded 8. And scored 8, sorry, against Bournemouth. So it would have been nice to have Robertson's 9 points in there, but I do think their defence has looked gettable at this year. I think the injuries they've got in the midfield has left them with less cover. I think Joe Gomez isn't as good a player as Matip. So I think in the long term, getting rid of Robertson for Perisic might be a good decision. Mount I wanted to get rid of. I think he was just a poor pick in hindsight. Put in Rodrigo, who it's again the first game week that he hasn't delivered, but it's not just the points that he's got this season. I think his underlying numbers are so good. I don't think it matters if Bamford comes back and he drops into the 10 role. I think they interchange a bit. His numbers were still really good when he was when he was playing as a 10, so I felt like he was a good pick going forward. And I also brought in Ivan Toney, again, first blank for him. Leeds and Brentford, I both think, have good fixtures coming up, and again, underlying numbers look good for Toney. So it's another one where I can say the transfers didn't really work out for me in terms of the points, but I've made those transfers looking at maybe the next sort of 5 game weeks. I considered just making 2 of them as well, not taking a hit, but I thought the Brentford-Everton fixture was targetable for Toney, and I didn't want to leave it a week, really. So I sort of saw it as an opportunity to make almost like a mini wild card, and I'm hoping that those decisions pay off long term. But 61 points off the game week, and it's put me well behind the pack. It's probably my worst start to an FPL season, in all honesty. But I think a lot of people are going to find that who've played over a long period of time. I think a lot of the consistently good picks of the last few years have been disappointing because, you know, Liverpool have been conceding goals, Chelsea have been conceding goals, Man City have conceded goals. Like, they're 3 of the best defences in the league, probably the 3 best defences in the league, and over a long period of time, having defenders from those teams will get you consistent points. Having Salah in your team will get you consistent points. I mean, Salah's underlying stats against Bournemouth were good. I'd be worried if he wasn't taking shots in the box, but I think he had 5. I think he created 2 big chances. Like, on another day, Salah hauls, and, you know, happy days. But this week was not that week. So to look at our transfer plans coming up. So first of all, on to Will, who has 2 free transfers. Now, I've got to say, if I was Will, I probably wouldn't make those 2 transfers. It always seems a bit daft not to use a transfer at all. Like, if you've got 2 in the bank, you might as well make 1. You can't stack them to 3. So if I was Will, there's 2 things I'd consider. The first one is Saka to Diaz. Luis Diaz is the top midfield point scorer from Liverpool now, more than Salah. He's certainly somebody who I'm looking at bringing in if Liverpool sort of stabilise a little bit and keep up the return to form that they showed at Bournemouth. And I think that Saka, for his price point, I think Martinelli has looked as good as Saka. He's scored more points. That doesn't necessarily matter to me. And Saka, I think, is on penalties, but I don't think that Martinelli will underscore him by much. So I think if Will was to change his £8 million midfielder, I think he might get more points out of Diaz. And I think if he wanted a Liverpool attacker, then I'd be looking at bringing Martinelli in future game weeks. The other option that I've got for him is just downgrading a bench player. Norgard seems to be settling on Will's bench now, and De Silva has basically had the same amount of minutes. In fact, in the Everton match, it was Norgard who came off in the second half, and not De Silva. He's also outscored in points-wise. He's scored a couple of goals in his first 2 game weeks, and I don't think he'll keep doing that, but he's going to save him. Well, it would have been a whole million, but De Silva's gone up. I think it's 0.7. It would save him now, but that gives him investment to put into the team. So I think if I was looking that I didn't want to make major changes to my team, then I'd probably just use a transfer on that if I was Will, and then you'd have 2 transfers for the next game week, and you can look at making changes based on how this week goes. And over to my team. I'm almost certainly going to do nothing this game week. I took a hit to make 3 changes last week. The only thing I think that will change that for me, Zinchenko obviously missed this week. If Zinchenko is going to be out for a longer period of time, then I will look at making a change on that. I think if he's going to miss 1 more game week, I'll possibly just play Pereira this week instead. Other than that, I'm really not looking at making any changes, so I'll just wait and see what the press conferences bring. And then hopefully roll 2 transfers into game week 6 and can have a look at making some improvements, because I certainly need a bit of a turnaround from the start that I have had so far this season. So if we look at our teams for next game week, at the moment Will's is looking like this. There's definitely some targetable fixtures on there. He's gone with Haaland as captain, Nottingham Forest. I think that's a good choice. Again, I'll be listening to the press conferences, because obviously I heard that Pep suggested that when there's 2 games in a week, that Haaland won't be starting both and Alvarez will be brought in. I wonder whether he'll do it this soon. I certainly think when the Champions League's on, he's going to be doing that. But he's been playing Haaland for those 70 minutes a game week. He's been bringing him off early, he's been protecting him a little bit. I think high intensity Champions League matches, yeah, he'll want Haaland to be playing longer in those. But I think it's the first midweek fixture of the season, and I think Haaland will probably still start the next 2 games. But I think it's certainly one to keep an eye on. The other thing is Haaland off the bench is still such a good option. He can certainly score in 20 minutes. He's shown that he doesn't need many touches to get the goals. So captaincy, not 100% sold on that, but it's certainly worth having him in the team. And my game week will look like this for the next game week. Like I say, the only one I'm really worried about is Zinchenko actually starting. I'd like him in that Villa match as well. I don't think Villa have clicked at all this season. I can certainly see a clean sheet, and he's always a possible candidate for assists as well. The players that I brought in the previous game week, Rodrigo, I think that's a really good fixture against Everton. Ivan Toney against Crystal Palace. Palace have looked really good so far, but they have conceded a few goals, so yeah, certainly want to target there. And West Ham got their first win of the season this game week, but haven't started off on fire. And I think Perisic, I wanted to bring him in because he's so attacking for Tottenham. He's on free kicks for them, he's taking corners for them. I think there's a good chance he'll play 60 minutes. And similar to Haaland as well, I could see him being rotated, but I just think that he's got such point potential that I think it's worth that risk on rotation for the price that he is. I've currently got my captain set on Haaland as well, but for the reasons I said earlier, there's a strong chance that I might change that. Salah against Newcastle is definitely a possibility. I'm not ruling out Jesus against Villa as well. He's obviously had 1 huge haul so far, and he's had 1 assist in another match and then 2 blanks, so there's not quite the consistency there, but the haul that he had kind of shows his points potential, goals and assists. So yeah, possibility for me. I think the most likely thing is that if I get the inkling from Pep's press conference that Haaland is going to start, then I'll probably captain Haaland, and I think if I am worried about him, then I will go with Salah as captain. So that's all for the team selection video for Game Week 5. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel, give it a like, leave a comment. We really appreciate all that stuff. And yeah, we'll be back on Thursday. Quick turnaround, try and get another video out for you ahead of Game Week 6. So we'll see you there.